Okay, good morning. This week we are sitting in that grey area between farm and Fowler and Gilbert, and we're looking at the bio unit and our nice new posh shed. Before we go on to the posh shed, bio unit, we touched on this last week. Obviously we got rained off, or the brickies got rained off, but ultimately the stone heads are in and we've bricked round. The corbel is in now down both sides. They started setting the wall plate on, but unfortunately got rained off, so that's had to wait. But we have had the firm out who have been out now and measured the roof trusses, and they're being made as we speak. So hopefully this week, bearing in mind this is now Monday morning, this week hopefully them trusses will be manufactured, made and dropped off on site, and if we get chance we'll start fitting these on Saturday. If we can get them fit Saturday next week, the brickies, hopefully if the weather's with us, can then come back and start building them triangles up on the gable ends, because that's the only bit left to do for them guys. So like I say, if we have, it's a beautiful day today. Tomorrow is forecast a bit iffy, so I don't think they're coming back tomorrow, but hopefully Wednesday we can get the rest of that wall plate bedded on, ready for Saturday. Onto the posh shed. Okay, so the posh shed. Now, the reason I call it a posh shed is because many years ago, sort of 20 odd years ago, one of the first jobs that I went to when I was doing this for a living was a customer, and we did a shed exactly the same as this, albeit a different size, and they were bricking round the base. And from that day, I loved the look of the building. I thought it looked really posh, really smart, crisp, clean, and that was ultimately what we wanted. Now, there is a big cost difference in doing this in comparison to just a normal building with panels around the bottom or cladded to the floor. There is that additional expense that is not needed, it is just for aesthetic purposes only. So, at one point, I always wanted to have one of these type buildings on our farm. And during the design process of the rest of the farm, a number of the buildings have actually got a cladding detail with a drip sill on, with the space to add the brickwork in at a later date. Now, we never put it in at the time, just because of the cost. We were expanding, we were growing, we hadn't got the money for anything unnecessary, and we don't really have the money to do anything unnecessary now. However, this is probably the last bit of development on this edge of the farm, and this is where the house is overlooking, and it's the main entrance to the site. So for me, this was quite important that we did get this right now, so it gave us that nice posh, grand, tidy, clean farm entrance that I was looking for. Now, there are many different ways that you can do this. I've opted to use the same brick as we've got on the gates and on the house, so it's all in keeping. We've a little bit different, we've gone for that blue engineering brick round the bottom, and that is because when the field is all landscaped back round, that soil and grass will butt up to the building, but we don't want that butting up to the face brick because it's not as hard as the blue engineering brick, so that won't let the damp in as much and it won't cause as many issues during the frost. And like I say, the red face brick is in keeping with everything that we've got going on here. Now, we have done this a number of times before throughout the years at Fowler and Gilbert, because we have done buildings in Wales that have got basically the slate or the stone work in grey round the bottom, and more recently actually, that you'll probably see at some point next year, there is a particular man that we have done one for, and a friend of mine has put Cotswold stone all the way around the bottom, and that looks the absolute bomb. Unfortunately for me, Cotswold stone would cost me a fortune to do up here and wouldn't be in keeping with anything else that we've got going on. So, looking closer, we have got, like I say, we've got the concrete slab that we put in at the time. Now, that slab we sailed through, we set the shuttering up on the outside of the building to act as our footing. There's not an official footing gone in here, we're using the back end of the slab to sit the brickwork on. The brick itself is just single skin, so there's just one width of brick, which doesn't make it overly strong, but ultimately we have got the steel work and we've got the concrete panels behind it. Then what we've done in each 6 metre section of brickwork, at the midpoint of the bay, we've backed it up with block work. So at the point where the steel meets the brickwork, we've got brick ties from the steel tied in, so that is holding that together at the steel connection point. And then midpoint, we were a bit like, well, 6 meters is a long bay, and we're just a little bit worried that that may have some movement or not be overly strong. So we've backed it up with blockwork. So effectively it's a 2-skin wall at a centre point for about 2 blocks in width, which will give it that extra strength to hold it up. After that, we've then sat our drip sill on top of that brickwork. Now this is a similar detail to what we would do on the industrial units that you've seen us do in the past, albeit we haven't sealed this in the same manner because we don't need the building to be airtight, because ultimately all it is a machinery store. Then we've cladded down onto that. We've still got the cladding to finish, we've got flashing work to finish, we've got the downpipes, we've got the barge board left to do, we've got quite a bit left to do to finish on it. But ultimately we needed to get it weather tight for the most part. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks we'll find another day that the guys can come back and just get these bits finished off for me. So that's it in terms of brickwork. All the brickwork is done. The cladding is where you can see it's up to. Let's go around the front. So additionally to that, the other thing that we've had installed is pavilion. They've come out and fitted the doors. We've had the personnel door. I've had that in green, so that is in keeping with the cladding. Obviously the other doors that we normally fit, you can have any colour you want, and we have normally fitted grey doors around here, but I've gone with green this time because again, this point here is the main entrance to the farm once we finish. So that looks nice and smart. And then roller shutter door, I've just gone with a plain gal finish roller shutter door here. So we've put this on the outside of the building because we would have had to lower the roller because of the haunch and where it comes in. And I've got this internal gable wall here. So we would have had a lower door than we needed to have. So what we've done is the same as the other building that we've got over there. We've sat the door on the outside of the building. We've then boxed that in really nicely round there. We can clad the little bit at the top and seal that up from a vermin perspective. And like I said before, this end bay here is where we're going to house. We've got the waters, we've got the electric, and also this is the stuff and the equipment that could easily be walked off with. So we can shut this door down, everything is safe and secure, nobody, touch wood, can pinch anything, and we can alarm it fully like we've got the other sheds alarmed. So other things that we have done, we have now pulled the water through, so the water feed itself is coming from the last building over there that we've done. We trenched that all the way across the front, we brought that round. We've also put a second duct in there which is to carry the mains electric cable, which again is coming from that point, and we can run data back through it to the camera system so that we've got this building and that building down there. This whole set of the yard is then live on the camera system. So water-wise, we pulled it all in, we pulled it round. At the moment, we've just temporarily put the pipe in. We've got to sort all that out, but ultimately there is a sink going to go here, so that'll all be piped up then in copper work. Additionally to that, we did mention about the get us out the shit of that side of the shed where cattle are concerned. Mark doesn't quite understand what I meant by a once in a blue moon get us out the shit. Have a look. Now unfortunately for me, now Mark has moved the cattle in there, he has claimed squatters' rights for the remainder of the winter and through until spring. So as much as I'm trying to kick him out so we can put all of our kit in and keep it nice and dry through the winter months, and we're not having that element of weather trashing all of our equipment, Mark has basically kicked us out. So on the back of that, we've then had to run this water supply. We put the spill flashings on, which is similar to what you've seen in the grain store. For me, that is just to keep the vermin out. Because if this roller shutter door is down, we might as well keep the vermin out of this part of the building rather than having bird shit on everything. So we put the spill flashings on, we've run them all the way around the building. It'll also stop the straw then going over the back in this situation next door. And I've run the water pipe all the way along and round, and we've dropped them down into 2 troughs, and we've put 2 gates in the building because at the moment we have got cattle both sides. The plan is actually get rid of cattle out of one side, and we are just calving in the other at the minute. We've had a calf actually yesterday that wasn't due for a month, so that's why it's sort of spurred on coming in a little bit earlier. But like I say, that water has run down, and where we've run it down and round to the troughs, we've actually made some galvanised tube to go over that water pipe so we can still insulate it, but at the same time we can stop the cattle eating the insulation and playing with the pipe, because every other shed that we've got, they keep trashing the water trough or the feed to the water trough. And then the last thing really that's been done here is James from JDC. He has been back with his guys. All the lighting is in, everything is live. We've got the light switch, we've got the door in and the power to that point. That's just got to have its feed. Everything else pretty much is wired up, ready for the sockets to go on. We're going to put a few sockets in here. We've got the outside lights, they're all on and done. We've just got the camera system then to finish off, and that is pretty much it. So like I say, in the next couple of weeks, if we can spare a day, get the last bits finished off, that's going to be fantastic. If we can have, please, a couple of days of dry weather, we will then just get this concrete strip in along here, which will allow me to be able to shut the door, because at the moment we've only concreted to the inside so that we can put a slope on the edge so that any water that does run down the door doesn't run into the building. So all we need now is that last little strip of concrete. I know I want to concrete all this section of the yard, connecting everything back together, but I can't do that until we've tidied everywhere else up, got rid of all the equipment, machinery, and got a bit more guaranteed dry weather. So that's it from this week, sat in that little grey area spot. If you like what you've seen, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and we'll catch you next time and leave you with a grey area montage. Boom.